There is a version of knowing your worth that lives entirely on the surface. It's the caption on the Instagram post. It's the affirmation on the vision board. It's the speech you give your friend when she's crying over a man who doesn't deserve her tears. Know your worth, sis. And then you go home and accept the bare minimum from the same situations you'd never advise her to tolerate. You wait for the text. You over explain yourself to people who aren't listening. You stay somewhere that stopped serving you 18 months ago because leaving feels like too much. I'm not saying that to judge you. I'm saying it because I think we need to be honest about the gap that exists between knowing your worth as a concept, as something we say and nod along to, and actually living from it as a woman. Because they are not the same thing, not even close. A woman who genuinely knows her worth doesn't just feel differently. She behaves differently. She makes different decisions. She tolerates different things. She attracts different situations. And today we are going to go through exactly what those differences look like. Not the motivational poster version, but the real, specific, sometimes uncomfortable behavioral truth of what it looks like when a woman has done the work and actually arrived at a place of knowing. Let's get into it. The first thing, and this is the one that catches people off guard, is that the woman who genuinely knows her worth is usually the quietest about it. She is not posting about it every day. She is not leading every conversation with her standards. She is not constantly reminding people what she will and will not accept. She doesn't need to. The loudest declarations of self-worth are almost always coming from a place of insecurity. When you have to tell people how much you value yourself repeatedly, is because some part of you is still not fully convinced. You're performing it outward because you need the external confirmation to make it feel real internally. The woman who actually knows her worth doesn't perform it. She lives it. And it shows up not in what she says about herself, but in what she does, how she responds, what she accepts, what she walks away from without a monologue. Her self-worth is evidenced by her behavior, quietly, consistently, without announcement. So the first question to ask yourself is not, do I know my worth? It is, does my behavior reflect someone who knows their worth? This one is significant, and it's one of the hardest to embody because we have been socialized as women to justify every decision we make, especially decisions that inconvenience other people. The woman who knows her worth leaves situations that are not serving her. She leaves relationships that have run their course. She leaves friendships that have become one-sided. She leaves jobs, conversations, rooms, without delivering a full explanation of exactly why she is leaving and a detailed account of what the other party did wrong to bring her to this decision. She says what needs to be said and she goes. Now, this is not about being cold. It is about understanding that you do not owe everyone a full psychological breakdown of your decision-making process. Your no is complete without an essay attached to it. Your departure is valid without a 12-point explanation of why you're leaving. The compulsion to over-explain comes from a need for the other person's approval, even of the decision to leave them. Think about that. You need them to agree that you have good enough reasons to go, which means you are still handing them power over you, even in the act of trying to take your power back. The woman who knows her worth doesn't need your permission to leave. She doesn't need you to understand. She doesn't need you to agree that it's fair. She trusts her own assessment of the situation and she acts on it. This is one of the most painful ones to look at, honestly, because so many women are in situations, relationships, workplaces, friendships, where they are actively negotiating for things that should never require negotiation. Consistency, follow through, not being spoken to with contempt, having your time respected, being considered in decisions that affect you. These are not requests. These are the floor. They are the absolute minimum that any adult deserves in any relationship. And yet women spend enormous amounts of emotional energy trying to convince people to provide them. If I just explain it better, he'll understand. If I'm less sensitive about it, it won't be a problem. Maybe I'm asking for too much. The woman who knows her worth does not make a case for why she deserves basic respect. She doesn't explain it, teach it, or beg for it. She notices its absence. She names it once, clearly. And if nothing changes, she removes herself from the situation. Not as punishment. Action, not as a power move. Simply because she has understood that you cannot build anything real on a foundation where you have to argue for your own basic dignity. The moment you start negotiating for the bare minimum, you have already told that person and yourself what you actually believe you are worth. Here is a distinction that most self-worth conversations completely avoid. Genuine standards cost you something. If your standards only ever eliminate people you weren't interested in anyway, they aren't standards, they're preferences. Real standards, the kind that come from a woman who actually knows her worth, are the ones that sometimes mean walking away from something you wanted, someone you were attracted to, a situation that was comfortable, a relationship that had good moments. The woman who knows her worth has been in that position. She has walked away from something she wanted because it wasn't meeting what she requires. And she did not spend 6 months second guessing that decision, stalking their Instagram, or convincing herself she was too picky. She trusted the standard, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was lonely, even when people around her said she was being too rigid. Because here is what she understands that women who are still performing self worth don't yet fully believe. A standard that bends every time it becomes inconvenient is not a standard. It is a suggestion. And nobody, including you, takes suggestions seriously. Your standards are only as real as your willingness to honor them when honoring them costs you something. The woman who knows her worth is not threatened by other women. Full stop. Not by the woman her partner finds attractive. Not by the colleague who is excelling. Not by the friend who seems to have what she wants. Not by the stranger online who is beautiful or successful, or living a life she admires. And I want to talk about why. Because this is not just about being a good person or being kind. This is about psychology. Competition with other women is rooted in scarcity, in the belief that there is only so much, only so many good men, only so many opportunities, only so much desirability to go around, and that another woman's having means you're not having. That belief is a lie that patriarchal conditioning has been feeding women for centuries, because women who are busy competing with each other are not busy building power together, and women without collective power are much easier to control. The woman who knows her worth has stepped outside of that framework. She understands that another woman's beauty does not diminish hers. Another woman's success does not close doors for her. Another woman's relationship does not reduce her chances. She can genuinely celebrate other women because she is not operating from a place of lack. And that absence of competition, that security, is one of the most telling signs that a woman has actually done the internal work. The woman who knows her worth spends money on herself, time on herself, energy on herself, without guilt and without waiting for someone else to decide she deserves it. She books the trip. She takes the course. She prioritizes her health. She creates space in her life for the things that fill her up, not as a reward for being good enough, not after she has taken care of everyone else's needs first, but as a baseline commitment to the person she is becoming. This sounds simple, but it is not. Women have been conditioned to understand self investment as selfish, to put themselves last, to wait, to earn, to deserve before they receive. And so many women are walking around depleted, poured out, running on empty. And they have been doing it for so long that it feels like virtue. It is not virtue, it is conditioning, and it keeps women small. The woman who knows her worth has recognized that she cannot pour from an empty vessel, that her fullness, her energy, her joy, her aliveness is not something that other people experience at her expense. It is what makes her magnetic. It is what makes her a good mother, partner, friend, colleague. Her investment in herself is an investment in everything and everyone she touches. She does not wait to be told she is worth investing in. She already knows. This one is subtle, but it is profound. The woman who knows her worth has developed a tolerance for other people's discomfort that most women have not. She can disappoint someone and not immediately scramble to take it back. She can hold a boundary and let the other person be upset about it without collapsing under their reaction. She can say no and sit in the silence that follows without filling it with apologies and qualifications. Most women who are still working towards self worth have an almost unbearable sensitivity to other people's negative emotions, particularly when those emotions are directed at them. When someone is disappointed in them, they fix it. When someone is angry at them, they apologize even when they've done nothing wrong. When someone is unhappy, they feel responsible. This is fawning. This is a nervous system response to perceived threat, and it hands your power to whoever is in the room with the most volatile emotional reactions. The woman who knows her worth understands that she is not responsible for managing other people's emotional responses to her boundaries and her decisions. She can be compassionate. She can be kind, but she is not the custodian of everyone's comfort, especially not at the expense of her own integrity. Letting someone be disappointed, letting someone be angry, letting someone sit in the discomfort of not getting what they want from you without rushing to smooth it over is one of the most advanced expressions of self worth there is. This is the one I want to end on because I think it is the deepest and the most important. There is a version of feeling valued that is actually about being needed, being the person everyone calls in a crisis, being indispensable, being the glue, being the one who holds it all together. And it feels like love, it feels like you matter, but it is not love. It is utility. The woman who knows her worth has made this distinction. She understands that being needed and being loved are not the same thing, that a relationship in which you are primarily valued for what you do, for what you provide, for how you function, for how you make someone's life easier, is not a relationship in which you are being seen as a full human being. And she does not accept utility in the place of love. She does not make herself indispensable to avoid being left. She does not earn her place in people's lives through her usefulness. She is present because she is chosen, not because she is necessary. This distinction changes everything, because a woman who knows she is loved rather than just needed does not perform. She does not exhaust herself in service of her own belonging. She simply is, and then she trusts that being is enough. That trust, that stillness, that radical belief that you are lovable as you are, not for what you do, not for what you provide, but simply as yourself. That is the deepest expression of knowing your worth that exists. Here are the questions I want to leave you with. Of everything we talked about today, the not announcing it, the leaving without explaining, the not negotiating for basic respect, the standards that cost you something, which one hit you the hardest? Which one are you still performing rather than living? Where in your life are you being needed rather than loved? And are you staying there because you genuinely want to be there, or because you are afraid of who you become when you are no longer useful to someone? And the big one, what would change in your life? Specifically, practically, this week, if you decided to behave like a woman who already knows her worth, not feels it, knows it. What would you stop doing? What would you start doing? What would you walk away from? Because knowing your worth is not a destination you arrive at and then stay forever. It is a daily practice of choosing yourself over and over, in the small moments and the big ones. If you are ready to go deeper and do the real work on yourself, the Trigger Point Audit is available now. 12 sections, 43 pages, examining every area of your life with a fine-tooth comb. No fluff, no comfort, just you and the truth. Link in the description. I'll see you in the next one.